Hello everybody, it's vanburman here. Welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be talking about the AMD Ryzen 5000 series. So, like many of you, I'm sure you've had a look at the independent benchmarks and reviews of the 5000 series. For me, I think it did as well as expected. It lived up to expectations. One of the things that maybe perhaps I didn't quite see coming, perhaps maybe a bit naively, is that the whole series seemed to sell out in about 8 minutes in the UK. At the official time of release, I know some got released early and some got released a little bit later. But yes, 8 minutes it took me to check out my order of the 5900X. And I didn't even get one of the first ones. I've got a pre-order copy version product, I guess. So I won't be receiving mine for a couple of weeks. But I think they did give me a guaranteed delivery date, so that's good. It's promising anyway. I thought maybe we might get even an hour's worth of the chips, but no, all completely sold out. All obviously well worth the money, I would say. I guess the 5950X is a bit much if you aren't really going to be utilizing it, I guess. I think, by looks of it, I went for the 5900X, which is, I guess, because I was looking for an upgrade over my 9900K and the Intel processor. Poor Intel. They'll be back, I'm sure, eventually. And, well, the 5600X might have sufficed. I think, it's when you are accustomed to a certain amount of cores, I guess, for, helping out with the streaming and video editing and rendering and that sort of stuff. To drop down the number of cores would have been difficult. So I think the 5900X for me was the only sort of really viable option, I guess. So I've just got up one of the bits from on the slide decks from AMD, one of their images, talking about Zen 3, 7 nanometer, delivering as promised. And I think that's the takeaway from it, is that they definitely have delivered as promised. The scores speak for themselves. If you go and look at any of the benchmarks, beating Intel's 10900K across the board on pretty much everything, barring the few oddities where Intel is king. I presume that's partly down to their high core clock, because of course the 10900K goes up to 5.3 gigahertz, so like even more than I had my 9900K overclock to. But there's a big difference there. I mean, I think one of the biggest telling bits to me, and I can't remember who did it now, is where all the cores were normalized to 4 gigahertz to really show the IPC over the between Intel and AMD. And when they did that between the 10900K, the 5900X, and the 5950X. And there was like a 20-25%, I believe, improvement over that, which is just single core versus single core. We're in the 4 gigahertz. And I think even before this generation, you'd have said Intel win that hands down, no bother at all. But it just wasn't the case. And if there's ever a reason, if you're looking to upgrade, maybe from like 7700K or 8700K, this series is super tempting, especially that 5600X at the price it's at. Even if you come from like an 8-core CPU, potentially, if you can afford to drop those cores because you perhaps maybe don't do streaming anymore, you don't do video editing anymore, then, that would be perfect for your computer, just for, purely games and that sort of stuff. Obviously, you've got the headroom, but I mean, you'll lose out on a bit of that multi-core performance, that's all. But unless you're going from the 8700K, 8-core, 8 threads, I think I'd be more than happy going to the 6-core, 12-thread from that one, for example. But yeah, I don't know, totally shocked. I'm looking forward to getting it and putting it in. My computer's been rebuilt and is ready for it. For it to go into my rig. I've got the 3600 in there at the minute, which is keeping the 3090 quite well occupied. I am still, like I say, looking to try and get a 3080 instead. I think that's more where the smart money is at, I suppose. Actually, I guess if you're the smart money, you'd get in a 5600X and a 3080. I think for now, I guess we have to wait, and I'm sort of discounting the AMD GPUs until I've seen them. I think anyone that has any sort of experience in historical GPU trends, we know to sit back and wait for AMD, especially the fact that sort of Nvidia sort of pulled a little bit of a bait and switch, I guess, on its performance figures. I'd definitely be waiting to see the Radeon ones before. But yeah, I think as of right now, 5600X, 5900X, and a 3080 is probably where you want to be if you want that proper high end. I don't think for 98% of people the difference between the 5900X and 5950X is worth it. In much the same way that I don't think the difference between the 3080 and 3090 is worth it either. It just so happens that you've got a bit more chance of getting a 3090. Actually, the 3070s have been around quite a bit as well, so you've got more chance of getting them than you have a 3080. So, this wasn't meant to be about NVIDIA, meant to be about AMD, sorry, but I've sort of moved it on to NVIDIA. But never mind. I don't think there's much more I can say about that. I think you're probably all fairly well informed. But yes, I will be getting the 5900X. I don't know if I'll have a 3080 by that time at all. We'll have to see, because we're still a couple of weeks out. But one of the things I would say, actually, is, and one of the things I've been quite surprised about, is that the fact of how well the 3600 has held up. I've had to do a lot of video editing recently for just some little work projects. Don't get me wrong; like they're not big files anyway. They're not particularly that long, sort of like between 10 and 20 minutes. But the 3600 did a really good job. I was actually really impressed with how well it handled it. Obviously, it's being backed up by a 3090 at the moment, so it's in like ideal conditions. But yeah, it is really good, really impressive actually. And that's me coming from a 9900K. Mainly for the fact that it actually stays a lot cooler than my 9900K, with it being overclocked. And I don't know because I've not run the tests, but it didn't feel like it takes much longer than that, despite the fact it's obviously got less cores, a lower core clock, even though I've got it, admittedly, do have overclocked to 4.3 gigahertz, but still. Just something to think about if potentially you're looking at maybe building a budget PC. I think there's real viability in picking up an older board, so maybe like a B450 and a 3600, or a 1600 AF. You can pretty much get that combo for 150 quid if you go for the 1600 AF, and I imagine there'll be price drops on the 3600. And then putting it with the over a 2060 when that comes down, that would give you some real good price to performance without needing like a mega power supply and without bursting the bank, so to speak. But yeah, these new ones are the cutting edge, and I think for the first time with AMD I've been able to say that. I don't think I would have pushed that far until now. And I think another part of it is I don't think Intel have got what it takes at the minute to surpass them. I don't honestly necessarily even think that we'll see a leapfrog. I don't think that Intel perhaps have what's required to do the leapfrog over AMD for the next generation. I don't know if it will be able to make up that gap that's now sprung up. I think, there might be a closing. There might even be like a neck and neck tie, but I can't see them getting a 10-20% improvement over AMD's latest offering. So, fair enough. My hat is off to AMD. Not that I'm wearing one, but if I was, it would be off. And yeah, let's just see. I'm excited for the Radeon GPUs. It's one I could potentially consider moving to if I'm going to have a AMD CPU, but I'll be honest with you, I want to see the reviews, and I don't want to judge it on the SAM either, the shared access memory. I don't want to judge it on that. I want it to be on its pure performance. And if it can match or beat the 3080, then I would switch after they fix the driver issues, which there will no doubtedly be some. I mean, NVIDIA had some, obviously. It happens every launch. It's just the way of the world. You can't, legislate for everyone's different setups and configurations and file systems and all that sort of stuff. So I know, I get it. But, yeah, consistently, AMD have been much worse than NVIDIA on that one. So yeah, that's all. 8 minutes. I was there as soon as it became available. Added it to my cart. Like, you're clicking through to the next bit and I'm just getting that wheel of death waiting for it to load. And it took me 8 minutes to check out. And because of that, I didn't do anything fancy. I wasn't waiting for anything. The only thing I was waiting for was the card verification. And that took a couple of minutes because it was just that slow. And yeah, I ended up with one of the pre-order ones rather than sitting here with the box to show you. So yeah, we'll see. I suppose I would do an unboxing, but we all know what's going to be in the box. It's going to be a little chip that says AMD 5900X on it. Like, there's nothing special about it, apart from when it's like in and you get the performance. Anyway. Hey, you enjoyed the video. I hope not bored you to death with that. And I went off on so many tangents, so I do apologise. But yeah, great news for anyone who's into PC gaming and wants to upgrade, or potentially someone who might upgrade in the future. Because, yeah, as performance continues to scale, I know people that have still got 2500Xs and 2600X, 2500Ks, 2600Ks. And they've been relevant for an extremely long time. So I don't know if this will be much the same, but I feel as though we're getting to that point again, where we start seeing a bit more diminishing improvements. But we'll see what Intel can do going forward. Oh dear. Right, I'll see you next time, guys. Bye for now.